Hey, great to have you here. So back today with another Dragon Ball video, and this one kind of came out of nowhere, but with New York Comic Con going on, these things will kind of pop up here and there, so we probably should have somewhat expected this. And this is a figure we've been waiting for some time, but we figured we would eventually get down the road. Finally is here, is the True Power Zarbon, or the final form, or the buffed up Zarbon, whatever you want to ultimately call him. And this has been a kind of long overdue release, and it's been a while since we've gotten a Z figure overall. I think it's been a few months since that Namek Vegeta, I think, was the last released announcement for Z specifically. Probably because Daima's ongoing, that they're really trying to diversify amongst the Dragon Ball franchise where they want to have these figures coming from. So it makes sense that it's been a while since we've gotten a Z figure, but back on track with getting this guy. And just want to do a breakdown, looking at some of the pictures and giving my thoughts overall on this new release coming out. So let's start off with this first image we have here. Zarbon looking all sinister with a close-up shot here. Probably about to battle somebody like Vegeta, so another use you can have for that Namek Vegeta, the one that came with Qui. You can also use that with Zarbon here, so great diversification of having that figure used with Zarbon here. Zarbon in this form really didn't battle anyone else, so if you're going to have a realistic diorama, it's probably going to be with that Vegeta, so that Vegeta is probably going up in value as far as his long-term growth. I know a lot of people are questionable on him, so maybe at this point in time, more people will be picking up that Vegeta, but either way, we have Zarbon, as I mentioned, zoomed in here. He looks maybe a little bit wider. We'll have to see a viewed out shot for this, but he looks a little bit chunkier than I feel like I expected him to be. But either way, the face looks great. The armor looks great. We have him with this, as I said, really sinister look that he has. You can see some of the blemishes on his face, those like little warts. I feel like this is supposed to be like a Prince and Frog type of situation where he transforms into this ugly beast. And that's kind of highlighted here, I would say. Great headpiece here. We have him with his green hair, with the earrings. Just really looks and represents Zarbon as far as we can tell here. I will say the armor, maybe he looks a little thicker because of the armor, and then maybe to allow some posability, but it feels like it comes down kind of wide on below his, like, near where his elbows are. That feels like it could have been a little bit tighter in, but maybe posability is the reason why. So we'll look at the next image. In this image, we have a backed up view shot, so same pose and everything, just seeing the whole body. And yeah, from this image, he looks a little wider than I remember him being. I'll maybe show an image here to show what he looked like in the show. It feels like he's a little stockier. His body almost looks like it's using a similar template to Dodoria's body, where it's that kind of rotund look to him. He still has the bulk here, but he feels like maybe he's either too short or his legs are too kind of pushed together. Feels like he was just a bulky guy before, where he was almost like a Superman type size. Here he feels a little bit heavy set, but maybe that's because Premium Bandai or Tamashii likes to push things towards being kind of center scaling, so people that aren't super tall aren't like insanely tall, and they try to make them smaller. People that are smaller, they try to make them a little taller. So I'm not sure the scaling of this will be as accurate as what we've seen in the show. I think I saw something say 160 millimeters, which would be I think 6.3 inches, so a little above average for a figure art, but I remember in the show he was battling Vegeta and he's like grabbing his head, which is like at his waistline almost. So not sure the scaling will be 100% here, but still, I think it meets the look, other than him being a little chunkier than I would personally like as far as representing the show. Next up, we have a different appearance here. We have him with more of a teeth gritting face. Kind of looks like it's just like a white teeth with a few lines in between, so not sure we can see too much detail on those teeth, but big differences here are the faceplate, which looks good. There's not much to really say about it. Hands, we have kind of the grippy hands, the combat hands here. And then his hairpiece looks like it could be different here. Hard to tell here, but I think I remember seeing something about interchangeable hairpiece. It looks more up in the air, and I think it's hard to see in the last one, but it looks like it's more down in the last one. So a few different pieces here. Not too much to call out. Next up, we have him with his arms spread wide apart with a definite teeth gritting face. So this looks like a different teeth gritting face. More of a maniacal, like he's about to go really crazy and just destroy Vegeta. And other than that, I mean, we have the same fists, it appears, on the hand. This one definitely looks like the hair piece is coming up. So better angle of seeing kind of what that elevated hair ponytail looks like. And then maybe this highlights the cape a little bit more. People will probably be disappointed. This looks like just a plastic cape. I know we've got the recent Gohan that has the kind of cloth cape, so going back to the plastic cape, I don't mind it. Like the one on Piccolo, for example, I feel like was fine, but I know people are sometimes opinionated with we should be at cloth capes at this point in time, so just for awareness, this does appear to be a plastic cape. Moving on to the next image, we have more of an attacking pose, so similar arm positioning, just with the open palm hands. So new hands, it appears this time for this photo. Other than that, not much different. And the screaming face looks like it's hard to really see this image, so I'm not sure why they included this, other than once again showing the ponytail and maybe some of the cape. But it looks like we get a yelling face here in this photo, but this could just be the one that he comes in the first image, that default photo. Hard to see from this image, so we'll just kind of move on to the next one. Next one, we have him doing a blast attack, so really only change here is that right hand where he has kind of that blasting, just open palm completely hand that we typically get with somebody like Vegeta. And I think this is once again just the face from the beginning, so I don't think there's a difference included here. And then finally the last image, yes, this is a different open mouth image, so we get him getting attacked by Vegeta. So if you want to see Zarbon grimacing in pain, just being bombarded by Vegeta from behind in this image specifically, this is the face for you. So I do appreciate when Dragon Ball figures come with a lot of serious combative faces, but then also some silly like getting just destroyed by somebody else's faces. So nice to throw one in here. And that's really it for the images we got. I will call out a few of the details for folks to be aware of. So pre-orders of this guy actually just came up today. They announced it today, and pre-orders dropped already today as well. So coming in at $85, which feels probably about right for this figure. I'm a little hesitant to jump in at the $85 price point, but this feels like probably relatively standard for Premium Bandai's pricing model that they have out there. Honestly, I could have seen this guy up to $90, but would have been nicer closer to that $70 price point, but I get that that's probably not the direction they're going to be going if they're going to go either direction at this point. So $85 makes sense for the cost of this guy. I think picking him up will depend on what you're trying to accomplish with your collection specifically. So I don't personally have the original Zarbon, nor did I pick up the kind of dirty fireworks Namek look for Vegeta. So this Zarbon would be an outlier for my personal collection, so I'm not sure I'll be getting him. But if you have that Vegeta, or if you have the other Zarbon, or the Dodoria, or kind of the whole Namek crew, this Zarbon I think makes sense for you. It's also possible in your personal collection you may just want to grab figures that you think look cool. In that instance, I think this one feels worthy of a pickup. It just depends on your own personal intent for your collection specifically. It definitely feels like folks that really double down on those Namek Vegetas previously are probably feeling pretty good right now. You know, if you picked up a couple of them, you have one fighting Kui, you have one fighting this Zarbon, so really makes sense for your specific layout depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So pre-orders, as I said, are open already for this guy. Not coming out until July of next year, so we'll be waiting quite a while. That's kind of that 9-month period, it's seeming like. So nothing out of the ordinary, I'd say, with that timing, but you're definitely going to be waiting a while for this figure to come out. I'll show a few other promo shots. They don't always include these, but I'll share a few of the images. We've seen these already, so we may fly through these, but we have Zarbon, as I said, powered up here. He still looks a little bit chunkier than I would like his thighs and his arms and just his body. He feels like he's a little bit heavier than I would have expected, maybe because he's too short, but either way, still looks cool. Next up, we just have another shot of this, just saying his powered up form. Next up, just saying transform to 160 millimeters. As mentioned, that's like 6.3 inches, so a little above average for the 6-inch scale. This next image, I think, is actually useful to take a look at. We have the different faces expressed here as they call out. We have the shouting face, the gritted teeth face, and the defeated face. So these are a good combination of faces, I would say, to include. The teeth gritting face, I don't feel like his teeth are really that like defined. It feels like it's just one blob of white and just a few ridges here and there. I know if you're like gritting your teeth, that may be what it looks like, but I probably would have liked a little more definition defining each specific tooth instead of just having a flat white. So that one's probably my least favorite. As far as my favorite, I mean, it's hard to argue against the one that comes default in the top right, just because that looks like Zarbon, like he is trying to plot something, and it looks the coolest in my opinion. And then next up we have the same blasting hand, just calling out a few parts in the top of this. It says his shoulders are going to work similar to the Turles shoulders. So I think those folded up a little bit, so it allows more posability, and they kind of get out of the way to move the arms around a little bit better. So folks will probably be happy to hear that information. And then talking about the movable base of his cape, interchangeable hair parts to recreate a flowing look are also included. So we'll get to the parts included later, but it does sound like, yes, there's a separate hair piece, probably one that's a little bit more up as opposed to the one that's default on down. And it says movable base of the cape, so I don't know what that's going to look like. Maybe it's going to be similar to what we had with like Piccolo's cape, where there's like a slot in there that you can, I don't know, we'll have to see what that looks like as far as the movable piece. And then finally we have, once again, him getting beaten up. It calls out here, really tries to express, hey, buy multiple figures here. So it points out Vegeta is somebody that you definitely want to be adding to your collection in order to recreate some of these scenes in the anime and manga. And then on top of that, I'll kind of go through the description here. I think a lot of these were already covered in those images, but yeah, it says 160 millimeters. And then we have 3 additional faceplates. Yep, mentions the armor with Turles. It has to point out, sold separately, as if you didn't know Turles wasn't included in this figure, but I'm glad they are pretty much straightforward with that. And then, what's more, you can move the base of the cape, and you can recreate the hair fluttering in the wind with the exchangeable hair part accessory. So, you can remove the base of the cape. I'm wondering if that means like you would take the cape entirely off, but I feel like we've seen the hairpiece going up. So maybe you take it off, you put the hair up, and then you put the cape back on. That may be what it's trying to describe there. And then once again, calls out, you can buy this with the 24,000 power level Vegeta, which is also sold separately. So as far as pieces, it calls out the main body, obviously, exchangeable left and right hands, 3 types. So I think that's our relatively standard figure art situation where we have the fist hands, the kind of grabby hands, the open palm, like wide hands, and then the straight up vertical, like blast attack open palm hand. So relatively standard for those pieces. And then also calls out the 3 different face types. We covered those 4 overall previously also. And then exchangeable hair parts. So it doesn't say exactly how that works out, but I'm assuming you just take off the original ponytail and then you slot in the other one. And then, as I mentioned, you may have to take the cape on and off to do that switch. We'll have to see what it looks like. They didn't really show any photos from the back, maybe intentionally, but either way, we'll wind up seeing this guy at some point. And I think there's probably even, I thought I maybe have seen some images that we've seen already, so hopefully we get some shots from behind to see kind of what that setup looks like with the cape and the hair. But either way, that's overall what this Zarbon looks like. As I mentioned at the beginning, I think it's great. We're getting back into the Z line. It's been a while since we've gotten a Z figure, so it would be nice for them to continue that a little bit more. I know Daima's kind of taken front stage right now, but getting back to Z I think would be a smart move because, well, they want to push Daima's new characters and things like that. I think Z is probably their big moneymaker and the reason why that one has continued on at this point. So I would encourage them to probably still continue dropping these more often than they probably have been. I think it's been a few months since the previous one, so I would get back to more of a maybe every other month, or not, I don't know if they need to do every month, but at least every other month drop something from the Z line specifically, because that's where folks are going to get the most excited and the most engagement around those figures. So what are your thoughts? Are you going to pick up this guy? Do you think he's a little bit chunkier than he should be? What are some pros and cons you see to grabbing him? We'd love to see any of your feedback down below in the comments. I appreciate you guys so much for watching, and I hope to talk to you again soon.